He says, uh, but of D2, Karma Yoga is superior to Karma Sannyasa or renunciation. Renunciation of work is physically not possible. Also, you can't give up work. Even if you go to a forest, you have to do something to maintain the body there also. You have to find a place, some shelter you have to create to sleep at night. Some work will be there. I can't completely give up work. Physically, it is impossible, that we saw before in the third chapter. So let us understand how Karma Yoga leads to liberation. Let's go to shloka number 3. ज्ञेयस्य नित्यसन्न्यासी यो न द्वेष्टि न काङ्क्षति निर्द्वन्द्वो हि महाबाहो सुखं बन्धात् प्रमुच्यते. Who is a sannyasi? Nitya sannyasi, eternal, always a sannyasi. What are the qualifications, qualities? Jneyasya nitya sannyasi. Such a person is called a sannyasi, not necessarily one who wears a certain kind of Gerva cloth and lives in an ashrama. That is one kind of external sannyasa. That's not the essence of sannyasa. Essence of sannyasa is inward refinement of the mind. What are the two qualities expected of a sannyasi? Nadveshti nakangshati. Dvesha means hatred, does not hate anything, does not hate unpleasant situations and unpleasant things, and nakangshati does not hanker for good things. Whatever is there, good or bad, accepts everything and remains calm under all circumstances. And it is explained in the second line, sloka number 3. Nirdvandvo hi mahabaho sukham bandhat pramuchyate. Nirdvandva means, dvandva means opposite, two things. Happiness and happiness, pain, pleasure, loss and profit, success, failure. These two things are common in human life. We oscillate between these two. Sometimes you succeed, sometimes you fail. Sometimes you are happy, sometimes you are unhappy. That's how life is. This is called dvandva, pairs of opposites. But a sannyasi or a yogi or a devotee of God, devotee also must be free from this dvandva. Nirdvandva means be free from dvandva, without dvandva. This instruction that we should not be swayed, become too happy and celebrate when something good happens, and become very unhappy and sad and depressed when something bad happens. That we should not be allowed to happen. We should remain calm under all circumstances. That instruction comes in throughout the Gita in many places. It's already come a couple of times. In the second chapter, I just refer to some earlier shlokas where the same topic came. Nirdvandva came several times before, it will come many times later in the Gita also. It's a very important topic. To remain calm under all circumstances. We all have to practice that. And daily life provides many opportunities for us to practice. Something would happen, something bad happens, then it's a test for us. Can I remain calm? That's a test we face every day in life. So Nirdvandva has come in the second chapter. Sometimes it is good to go back and review the old verses, otherwise we forget them, unless you go back and review. So second chapter, verse number 45. There, Sri Krishna had already told Arjuna to become free from dvandva. Traigunya Vishaya Veda Nistraigunyo Bhavarjuna Nirdvandvo Nityasatvastho Niryagakshema Atmaman. 245, Sri Krishna told Arjuna, Nirdvandvo Bhava, become free from pairs of opposites. Don't be too much upset if something goes wrong, and don't be too much elated if something goes right, because they keep changing. You remain calm under all circumstances. This is a very important instruction that Sri Krishna gives many times throughout the Gita. That is what a spiritual seeker, all spiritual seekers must practice this equanimity under all circumstances. Nirdvando hi mahabaho. And then it came in the second chapter, sloka number 38 also. Before that, there Sri Krishna had said, Sukha dukkhe same kritva labha alabhau jaya ajayau. Sukha dukkha, labha alabha. Sukha means happiness and happiness. Gain, profit or loss, jaya ajayau, success or failure. These things happen in everybody's life. No one is exception. No one always succeeds, no one always fails. So what is the instruction? Same kritva, you remain equanimous. Samatva, practice calmness, equanimity. That is nirdvando bhava. It will again come in this chapter, sloka number 20. We'll study that later. So the instruction is nirdvandvaha, nadveshti nakangshati nirdvandvaha. Three things in sloka number 3. Three things are mentioned in sloka number 3. 3 points. Nadveshti, don't hate anything if it is unpleasant. Don't hate somebody if it's not to your liking. Different people do different things in different way. They appear differently, do things differently. We should not hate them in their life. Nadveshti, no hatred towards anything. Nakangshati, not hankering for anything. Whatever comes, with that be happy. Third quality is nirdvandvaha, remaining calm under all circumstances, pain or pleasure, gain or loss. Somebody blames, somebody praises. We should not be affected too much by that one. So that is the instruction for all spiritual seekers, especially here in the context of Karma Yoga. When success, failure happen, when you do something, sometimes you succeed, sometimes you fail. And it's not in our hands, as we saw in the second chapter. Result of work is determined by many factors besides our effort. So we should do our best and accept the outcome calmly. Karmanyevadhikarastha, you remember the shloka in second chapter 47. You only have some jurisdiction control in karma, but not in the karma phala. Ma phaleshu te kadachana. So that is how we have to remain calm. Remaining calm and doing all our duties, that is the way for pravritti marga, the path which majority of us are here. Even if some people have taken sannyasa, we are still the pravritti marga. We are not gone to the forest and able to meditate around the clock. We are still in the sannyasa. We are in the building, ashrama building. We have to maintain that, and we have to take care of the finances and organize programs and all these things. Activities are there. A lot of activities are going on. So that is all pravritti. We can't completely withdraw. See, Holy Mother said to somebody, how much meditation can you do in a day? Ordinary person, how much can we do? 1 hour, maybe 2 hours. Other time, during other hours of the day, what will you do? Even for Swamis, an average Swami, average Swami does a couple of hours in the morning, couple of hours in the evening. In between some study scriptures. But still a lot of time is left. What do we do? Swami Vivekananda said, the modern sannyasi should follow the pravritti marga, stay in society, not go away to the forest. That's only for a small number of people. That's true. Not good for all, possible for all. But serve the society, serve the devotees. Society supports us. All ashramas are supported by donation given by the householders. So what do we do? We return to the society. What do we give back to the householders? You have to serve them. That is why mission activities are there in India. So huge magnitude of mission activities, hospitals and schools and colleges and university and dispensaries and rural development. And I've seen mobile dispensaries every morning. A doctor and a compounder and a driver, three of them go in a mobile dispensary to remote villages in India. There is no medical care of any kind at all for poor villagers. They go there in the morning, they dispense medicines, they give medical advice, they help them, and then next day they go to another location. So that is how we serve society. How much can we meditate? 3-4 hours in a day, more than that we cannot do. Rest of the time you have to serve society because you are indebted to society for supporting us. The old style sannyasi, they were not supported by society. They went to the forest. There is no donation, no building, no ashrama, no maintenance. They stayed in a hut. There was no donation, no subscription, no program, no class. There's a different lifestyle. It's not suitable for how many of us can live like that? It's not possible. It's true, it's the best, shortest path to realization, but difficult for majority of people. This Pravritti Marga, which we are all following, this is the best suited path, suited for majority of people, 90% more than 90% of people. That's why he emphasizes this in the Gita. Not so much total renunciation, karma sannyasa. Karma yoga is the key to liberation. So now we go to shloka number 5. There emphasizes both paths lead to the same goal. There need be no discussion over the paths. Which is superior need not be discussed. Each path is effective and leading to the same goal. You see, if you want to go from point A to point B, there may be 3-4 different ways to reach this point B from point D. Then nobody said this is the only way. Other people can follow the way convenient to them. No for fighting about the paths. So sloka number 4. Sankhya yoga prathak bala pravadanti na panditaha ekamapyasthita samyak ubhayor vindate phalam. Sankhya yoga, Sankhya and yoga. Sankhya means the path of knowledge. That I am Brahman, I am not the body and the mind. This world is unreal, dream-like reality. So I will meditate on my true nature, which is Brahman. I am Brahmasmi. That kind of approach is Jnana Marga, Vichara Marga, Jnana Marga. That's also called Sankhya Marga in this Gita. Sankhya. Yoga means the Pravritti Marga, the path of action. The path of performing action as Karma Yoga, which leads to same goal. Sankhya Yoga, both Sankhya and Yoga, Prithak, they are separate. Like this, who says, Balaha Pravadanti. Bala means a boy or a child. Bala here means a person who does not understand things deeply, whose understanding is superficial. Because these two paths appear so different, so they think they are different paths. They are different in the methodology, but in the goal, when it comes to the result, they are the same, they produce same result. Sankhya Yoga Prathak iti ke vadanti, Balaha vadanti, Panditaha na vadanti. Pandita means those who know the truth, they don't say that these are two different paths. Prathak means different. They say they are same. Same in the result, as far as result is concerned. Ekamapi asthita, samyak asthitaha. If somebody is practicing one of these paths, ekamapi samyak asthitaha, one is established in one path, no need to travel by two paths. To go from place A, you need only take one path. You don't have to travel by both paths, not necessary. Take one path, follow it well. Ekamapi asthitaha samyak ubhayoha phalam mindate. He gets the result of practicing both paths. If you travel from A to B by following one path, you get the same result as following by many other paths. The result is reaching point B. How you reach is left to you. Many paths are available. So that is the beauty and strength of Vedanta, as opposed to other faiths where they insist that theirs is the only path. That's the big difference, a very significant difference. Vedanta Sanatana Dharma is the only dharma that says many paths are possible to reach the same goal. Other people don't agree. They say our path is the only path. But we don't believe that one. Swami Vivekananda said in his Parliament of World Religions lecture, he made a famous statement, just speaking about the harmony of religions. Swamiji said, do I want a Christian to become a Hindu to realize God? No. Do I want a Buddhist to leave Buddhism and come to Hinduism to realize God? No. Let the Buddhist, Hindu, Christian, Muslim, whoever, follow their own path. They don't have to come to Hinduism. Hinduism is not the only way. Hinduism is the only path which says that one. Vedas are the only scriptures in the world which say the study of Vedas is not supreme necessity. It's only Veda that accepts that one. No other scripture says that one. No other religion says that other paths are valid. They all say ours is the only path. That is the strength of Sanatana Dharma Vedanta. That's the central teaching of Sri Ramakrishna also. No need to fight about which path you are going to follow. It's left to you, your convenience. And you're all familiar with that example he gave in the gospel. A mother prepares 4 or 5 different kind of dishes to suit the need of each of her children. Depending upon their ability to digest on their taste, mother prepares different dishes. So like that, God has himself provided many different paths to reach him, depending upon which path is convenient to which seeker. That we saw in the 11th verse of 4th chapter, 4:11. Yayatha mam prapadyante tamasthaiva bhajamyam. There Sri Krishna says, I shall respond to people in the same way in which they worship me. Bhagavan Sri Krishna says, worship me as Rama, I will appear as Rama to them. Bless them as Rama. If they worship me as Krishna, I will appear and bless them as Krishna. It is the Lord himself has provided numerous paths to reach him because every seeker's ability, temperament, opportunities are different. You can't say one path everybody should follow this or nothing at all. That is not what Sanatana Dharma Vedanta is about. Many different paths. That's all explained here in the 4th verse. Sankhya Yoga Prathak. Sankhya Yoga are different. Who says this one? Balaha Vadanti. Uninformed people say everything, every path is different. Yes, they are different in appearance, in methodology they are different, but when it comes to result, they are same, produce same result. Ekamapi samyag asthitaha. If a person practices one of these paths very well, sincerely, upayo phalam nindate. That's the result of following all the paths. In the commentary on this verse, verse number 4, Shankara says, Ubayoho phalam, ubayoho tadevahi nishrayasam phalam. There are 2 goals to be achieved in human life. 2 things we all try to achieve. What are they? Happiness in this world, well-being in this world. Good family, good home, good health, reasonable resources, some money, property, success in profession, family life. Most people want this one. This worldly success. This is called Abhyudaya. There's a term for this one in Vedanta. Abhyudaya means worldly happiness. Majority of people want that one. There's not wrong in seeking these things. It's okay. People want to be happy. Why be unhappy? Be happy in this world also. Be successful. Sri Krishna says in the Gita later, Swamiji said that one too. If you're religious, you don't have to be poor. You don't have to live under a tree to realize God. You live in a house to realize God. Swamiji said in the Karma Yoga lecture, money is not bad in good hands. You can make as much money as you want. You don't have to be poor to be religious. Make as much money as you want, but make the money in a dharmic way and spend it for dharmic purposes. Then it is not bad. So Vedanta does not say that you should remain poor and I'm realizing God I am, but not necessarily live a good life. Sri Krishna says in the 11th chapter, the very famous verse number 33. We'll study it in detail later. There Sri Krishna says to Arjuna, fight, win the kingdom, enjoy the kingdom, and then realize God. Uttishta, Shreyo Bhaktam, no, Uttishta, Jitva Shatrum Bhungshva Rajam Samriddham. Shatrum Jitva, conquering the enemies, defeating the Kaurava, Shatrum Jitva, Samriddham Rajam Bhungshva. Bhungshva means enjoy. Enjoy the vast kingdom which has been snatched away from you by the Kauravas. He did not say, surrender everything to Kaurava and go to the forest and realize God. That was not what Sri Krishna said to Arjuna. He said the opposite. Defeat the enemies. Jitva Shatru. Samurdham Rajyam Bhumshva. Enjoy the vast kingdom which you are entitled to enjoy as a Kshatriya. Then you realize God. Both are possible. That is the message of Gita. So here it says, in the commentary, Shankara says, Nishreyasam phalam. One goal is obviously worldly happiness. Why to be unhappy? Enjoy good life. But with detachment. Don't say mine, with detachment. One thing, one goal, abhyudaya. Highest goal is Nishreyasa. Make a note of that word. Nishreyasa means moksha, liberation, highest good. That higher than liberation, we can't achieve anything. Both you can do. So in the commentary of this verse number 4, Bhagavan Shankara says, Nishreyesam phalam ubhayoho phalam indate ataha na phale virodha asti. There is no conflict in the goal between these two paths. Whether you follow the path of nivritti, going to the forest, meditating on Brahman, or for the pravritti, living in the world, leading a worldly life, you still reach both the goals. Abhyudaya Nishreyasa. Both will lead to the both the goals. You can make the choice. See, that is the beauty of Vedanta teaching. It does not say this is the only way. If say this is the only way, then how many people cannot follow that way? What happens to them? So some religions say this is the only way. This is the only God. This is the only. If you don't believe in this one, you will go to hell. We don't say that's very limited. That's not right. People are different. Everybody is different in their ability, tendencies, temperament. So we have to have different paths. And the goal must be the same. So that is the beauty of this Sankhya Yoga, their identity. In regard to the result, karma phala. Now we go to the shloka number 5. It's continuation of same identity of the two paths in regard to the result. Shloka number 5. Yat sankhyai prapyate sthanam tadyogairapi gamyate ekam sankhyam cha yogam cha yah pashyati sapashyati. Very nice, important verse. Yat sthanam, that goal, sthanam means place or goal, destination. Yat sthanam sankhyai prapyate. That goal which is reached by the Sankhya people, that means people who follow the path of meditation, withdrawal from society and meditation. That goal, tad yoga irapi gamyate. Yoga means people who follow the path of pravritti, action, involvement in the world. They also get the same goal. They both reach the same goal. If they do their follow the first properly, without attachment, leading the worldly life. Sankhyam cha yogam cha ekam. Both are same in regard to the fruit result they produce. Methodology is different, result is the same. Two different ways of doing the same thing. If a project is to be done, one person does it one way, other person does the same way, but they both reach the same target. They produce the same result. Methodology is different. It's possible. Same thing in God realization. We can follow this path of Sankhya, withdrawal and meditation, Jnana Marga, I am Brahman, world is unreal, that is one. Or you can follow a path of yoga, which is all doing all work as offering worship with detachment and gratitude. It is the same goal. That is one of the most beautiful teaching of Vedanta here in this part of the Gita. How nice it is to know that everybody can reach the same goal, regardless of what path they follow. But if they follow it sincerely, they must be sincere in their path. They should follow the teachings of the Guru and be sincere in their spiritual practice and do all work as worship, as we will study later, already come, then reach the same goal. Ekam Sankyam cha yogam cha. Sankhya Yoga both are same. in regard to result they produce. Yah pashyati sa pashyati. He who says, this is the truth. The truth is, paths are different, goal is the same. That is the truth. So the commentary, Shankara's commentary on this verse, I'll read. A simple language, you can understand that. I'll translate into English also. Ishware samarpya sarvani samarpya karmani atmanah phalam anavisandhaya ye anutishtanti te yogaha. Who are yoga people? Yoga people means all of us who are leading the worldly life, doing our duties and as worship and trying to realize God. We are all called yogas. No, we are not Sankhyas. So what does a yoga do? Yogi do? What do we do? People like, what are we supposed to do? Explained here in the commentary. Here Shankara says, karmani, all the work that we do, everything that we do, including eating, walking, talking, sleeping, taking care of children, going to work in the office, whatever we do, karmani, all work that we do, karmani, Ishware samarpya. Samarpana means offering, dedicating to Ishwara God. Whatever I'm doing, I'm offering to God. Sri Krishna Arpanamastu, like that. That's the key to the to this yoga, karma yoga. Ishware samarpya karmani. Second thing is atmana phalam anamisandhaya. Not expecting oneself to get benefit from that work. Not for one's own sake, but for the sake of everybody, all people, whole world. So whenever I do any work, including the present work that I'm doing, we are all doing, we are all engaged in the Gita study now. What is the purpose? Main purpose is that we want to achieve liberation. Study Gita, follow Gita teaching, that is one. But it's a larger purpose is that should help other people also, not just me. Everybody should benefit from this one, as many people as possible, especially in regard to our worldly activities. In the third chapter, Sri Krishna says, if a person prepares food and eats for oneself, then he's being like a thief. We should prepare food and share with other people, animals and plants. Then we can also eat. Just for me, myself, narrow-mindedness is not good. Keep all activities in the broad context, broad perspective. Everything, everybody should benefit from this work, not just me alone. So that is what Shankara says in the commentary. Atmana phalam anabhisandhaya, not expecting fruits to benefit only oneself only. Ye karmani anutishtanti te yogaha. Those who perform all work in this way. Two factors, dedicating everything to Ishvara God. I'm offering this work to God as my humble offering, not that He needs, but for me to practice detachment. Second thing is, may everybody benefit from it, not just me alone. Keeping this kind of attitude, if you perform work, that will lead to liberation. You don't have to change our work. You don't have to do some other occupation or profession. If you are a teacher, you become a continue to teach. If you are a homemaker, cooking, cleaning, serving children and family members and parents, continue to do that work. In the Mahabharata, there is a great story called Dharmavyada story. You all heard about that one. Swamiji has narrated that short version of the story in the Karma Yoga book. There's a chapter called Each is Great in his own place. Swamiji's Karma Yoga book has 8 chapters. One chapter is called Each is Great in His Own Place. There you read about a housewife who achieved knowledge by doing her own duties, cooking, cleaning, serving her family members, parents and husband. In the same story, there is a Vyada, a butcher who sells meat, and he achieved self-knowledge by doing his work of selling meat as worship, as offering, serving his parents. That story you have read, short version in the Swamiji's Karma Yoga book. Each is great in his own place. That means every person regardless of what kind of profession or work he or she is engaged in, can get the same result of liberation by doing every work as worship, as offering. Work need not change. Attitude has to change. That will come many times in the Gita, it already come. In the third chapter, sloka number 30, very important sloka, 330. Sri Krishna gave five instructions. The first instruction is dedicating all actions to me. Maya sarvani karmani sanyasya. That word, verse in chapter 3, verse 30, very important verse. So that's what it says here. Whatever work you do, don't have to change the one. Offer it. Do it an offering to God or to society, other people. May everybody benefit, not for just myself only, for the sake of others also. That attitude has to be cultivated. That's the key to success in spiritual life. Yoga. तैः अपि परमार्थज्ञानसंन्यासप्राप्तिद्वारेण गम्यते. So they also reach the same paramartha jnana, knowledge of the self, or pure devotion. Both can be achieved by doing all our work as offering, as worship. So that is the gist of this shloka. Now, there are examples to prove this one. Janaka was a king, he had a kingdom, empire, and he administered the kingdom, took care of the subjects. He did not give up everything and go to the forest like other kings used to do those days. Kings used to go to the forest, entrusting their kingdom to their son, and they would live in the forest vanaprastha. But Janaka stayed and administered the kingdom. He became a Brahmajnani, knowledge of the self he got. But Buddha, he was also a prince, born to a king. He could have stayed in the kingdom. His father, Suddhodana, would have given him the kingdom. Buddha could have become a king. He was a prince. But he chose to abandon the kingdom and go to the forest and meditate. Two different paths, opposite paths. Both were kings, Buddha and Janaka. One stayed in the kingdom and took care of the subjects properly. Another abandoned, gave up everything and went to the forest and spent his life in meditation in the forest. What the result of both is same? Both of them got Brahmajnana. Both of them are following two opposite different paths. It is the same goal. See, that is the example given here. Janaka and Buddha. One followed the path of yoga, involvement, pravritti marga. Another followed the path of Sankhya, went to the forest and meditated on the reality. So we can follow whichever path we like, but for majority of people, the path of yoga is more convenient. How many of us can go to the forest and meditate like Buddha did? It's not possible for us. Very small number, if any. So let's go to sloka number 6 then. Sannyasastha mahabaho dukkhamaptumayo gataha yogayukto munir brahma nachirenadhigacchati. Mahabaho Arjuna. Arjuna is called Mahabaho. Mahabaho means a person who has very long arms. Kshatriyas have to have very long arms because those days they have to fight with their hands. Powerful, big arm, well-built body they should have. Mahabaho Arjuna. Sanyasaha, the path of renunciation. Ayogataha dukkham aptum. Aptum, dukkham, difficult to practice sannyasa without practicing yoga. Ayogataha, without yoga. Without going through the path of yoga, that means doing all work as worship and offering, performing duties. Without doing that, straight away you cannot go to sannyasa. Sannyasa cannot be, it's not so easy that I will go to forest and meditate. You have to go through this stage of yoga, karma yoga. That prepares the mind for sannyasa. It can itself lead to liberation, karma yoga itself, or it can prepare the mind and you can follow sannyasa after preparing the mind through karma yoga. Yoga yuktaha munihi. A person, muni is a one who practices silence and meditates on God in silence. Muni is defined as mananath ishvara swarupasya munihi. A person remains silent and thinks only about Brahman, about God. Such a person is called a muni. Mauna means silence. Yoga yuktaha munihi. A person who practices karma yoga, yoga yuktaha, as explained, yoga yukta munihi, Brahma adhigachati, reaches Brahman. How? Achirena, very quickly. Doesn't take a long time. So if you practice karma yoga, prepare the mind uh, for renunciation by practicing detachment in karma phala, as explained earlier. Then the mind becomes pure. One becomes able to meditate on the ultimate reality, Brahman, and reaches Brahma Jnana, self knowledge, fairly quickly. Doesn't take much time. So there is a very nice verse in the Bhagavatam, which we chant at the end of all ceremonies and puja. That verse says, you may have heard about this one, I'm sure. कायेन वाचा मनसेन्द्रियैर्वा बुद्ध्यात्मना वा प्रकृते स्वभावात् करोमि यद्यत् सकलं परस्मै नारायणायेति समर्पयामि. कायेन वाचा मनसा. Kaya means body. Manasa by mind, vacha by speech. Through body, mind and speech, kayena manasa vacha indriyairapi. Whatever work I do with this body, mind, sense organ, all of that I'm going to dedicate to Narayana. Kayena manasa vacha kevala Narayana iti samarpayami. For Narayana, I'm samarpayami means I'm offering. That's the attitude which we have to do. Whatever work I do, even simple activities, must be done as an offering to Narayana, your chosen ideal, Ishtadeva. We can offer. That prepares the mind and makes the mind free from detachment and prepares the mind to practice samatva, equanimity in pain, pleasure, etc., which we study. And there is no hatred, there is no hankering for things that we don't have. All those qualities are necessary, can be achieved by doing all our work as offering, as worship. Very simple key. Karma is the key. Nothing in fantastic has to be done to realize God. Just routine activities only we do. Like that housewife in the Dharmavyada story, or the butcher who sold meat. He did not do any fantastic spiritual practice or anything, standing in water and meditating at midday. They didn't do any such thing. Just did their whole daily routine jobs, but with the proper attitude. That's how they got knowledge. That story is a great story. If you please read it if you have not seen it. Each is great in his own place in the Karma Yoga book of Swami Vivekananda. Great lesson that Mahabharata story has. So we go to shloka number 7 now. See if you can finish couple more shlokas. Shloka number 7. योगयुक्तो विशुद्धात्मा विजितात्मा जितेन्द्रियः सर्वभूतात्मा कुर्वन्नपि न लिप्यते. I read the translation. Established in yoga, mind with the mind purified, the self and senses controlled, the self becomes the self of all living beings. Such a person is not tainted though he works. The translation is not very clear. Let us understand. A person must have practiced three things. I mentioned in the first line, three things we all have to do. What are they? Vishuddhatma. See the word Vishuddhatma in the first line. Vishuddhatma here means the mind. You have to keep our minds clean. You have to not allow impure thoughts to come to the mind. Most important requirement. Vishuddhatma means we should practice purity of mind. Replace bad thoughts by good thoughts. Second, Vijitatma. Here, Atma means the body, physical aspect. Mind must be pure, body must be pure. Third thing is Jitendriya. Jitendriya means with sense organs controlled. We saw the importance of controlling sense organs when we studied second chapter. Sita Pragya Lakshana, controlling sense organs is very important. So these three things have to be controlled: mind, body, and sense organs. Vishuddhatma, Vijitatma, Jitendriya. Controlling these three things, keeping them pure, yoga yuktaha performs, a person who performs all work as yoga, karma yoga, as offering, as worship, without attachment, without expecting fruits for oneself. Such a person gains the understanding, sarvabhutatma bhutatma. That means if I practice these things, purity of mind, etc., understanding will come to me. But whatever is my true nature within me, not the body and the mind, whatever is within me, the Atman self, the same Atman in everybody else, in everything else. Sarvabhutatma bhutatma. That means the self within me, the divine presence within me is same as divine presence in all other people, animals and plants, things. There are no two divinities. One God is there. He is present in all of us. That will come in the 6th chapter. We should develop the conviction that one divinity, one God is present in all the beings across the whole of creation. Whether we believe it or not, or accept it or not, that's material. He is present in all. That's a central message of Gita. I am present in all. Sri Krishna says again and again in the Gita, in the 15th chapter, 15th verse. 15:15. There Shri Krishna says, Sarvasya chaham hridi sannivishtaha. Sarvasya hridi, in the hearts of all, aham sannivishta, I am present. He said that one. 18th chapter, verse number 61. Shri Krishna says, Vishwara Surabhutanam hriddeshe Arjuna tishtati. Surabhutanam hriddeshe, in the hearts of all the beings, no exception. Vishwara tishtati, the God is present. Many places in the Gita, Bhagavan Shri Krishna says, same God is present in all the beings unconditionally. No condition. Whether you accept it or not, believe in it or not, know it or not, he is present. That understanding is what is here. Sarabhutatma bhutatma. So, how do we get that experience? By four things, doing four things mentioned in the first line, sloka number 7. Purity of mind, purity of body, purity of sense organs, speech and everything. And yoga yukta, first one, doing all work as karma, as offering, as puja, as worship. By doing that, we get the experience, understanding, experience that same divinity is present within me as in everybody else. We are no two different things at all. In body mind level, we are different. Everybody has different body. At physical levels, we are all different. We have to be different. But at spiritual level, we are all one. We are all one. There is no two at all. If you go to the deepest level of our personality, we find that I am same as you. Come to the physical level, I am different from you. That's how it has to be. So in the 15th chapter gives an example how one thing can be one at one level, different at different level. Like a tree. If you look at the tree at the trunk, only one trunk is there. But if you look at the tree at the top, so many different branches are there, some branches and twigs and leaves and fruits and flowers. Many, many different things are the same tree. Look at one side, many, many different things. Go to the other trunk side, only one. Whole creation is like that. Look at the body mind, you are all different. Everybody is different. Look at the self within, only one self. We all have the same self. Surabhutatma Bhutatma. That understanding will come if you practice yoga, yoga yuktaha, Vishuddhatma, purity of mind, Vijitatma, purity of body, Jitendriyaha, controlling sense organs. How to do this one? By doing it as love as offer. I'll give an example. Supposing in a family, a mother cooks for all the family members and for guests also. In the restaurant, a cook also cooks same food. Both of them prepare the same food. The restaurant cook and mother in the family. The difference is very wide difference in the attitude. For the cook, it's a job. He doesn't care who eats it. He is not doing it as offering. He's doing it for money, looking at the clock. It's a livelihood. That's his attitude of cooking. Same food he cooks, but look at the attitude. But when the mother cooks the food, her attitude is only different. She cooks. She puts all love into that one. She loves the family, children, tries to serve the guests who comes to eat. So much love she puts into the cooking. Same cooking, same activity, but look at the difference in the attitudes. That is what we have to learn. Work is the same, but your attitude must be refined, cultivated. I'm doing it as worship, as an offering, as a service. May people benefit from it. My children eat this food and become healthy. Mother prays. The restaurant cook does not care whether you become healthy or not. He just do it as a job. This is a livelihood. I can't blame him. That is the attitude that makes a difference. The attitude that makes karma into karma yoga. How karma can become karma yoga is doing it with love. All karma with love, detachment, without selfishness, as a service, as offering. That is the key to success in spiritual life. So we'll stop here. If you have questions or comments, you can ask me now for a couple of minutes, few minutes. Seven slokas.
Maharaj?
No.
Maharaj?
Oh, yes.
Maharaj, you mentioned about, you always mention about some verses from Shankaracharya. What reference do you use? Is there a book from him, or when you relate any of these Gita's verse with the Shankara's verse, what reference do you use?
Shankara's verses, there are books containing Shankara's hymns.
Okay. So you remember and relate those with Gita's, right?
You are talking about Gita commentary, Shankara's Gita commentary, or Shankara's other hymns?
Yeah, no, I'm talking about when you are relating Gita's verses with Shankara's verse, what reference do you use? Like,
no, I'm reading Shankara's commentary on Gita.
Shankara's commentary on, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
this book has Shankara's commentary. Many books have.
Okay.
And this book has come Shankara's commentary in the Sanskrit original and also English translation. So I'm reading from the commentary, Shankara's commentary. He wrote commentary on all the verses of the Gita, the beginning from 11th verse of second chapter.
Can you show us the book real quick so that you can note and...
This book, the cover is different. It is called Srimad Bhagavad Gita Bhashya. Let me show. I don't know if you can see it on the screen. Srimad Bhagavad Gita Bhashya of Shankaracharya.
Thank you, Swamiji.
And other books also have Shankara commentary. This one has the commentary in Sanskrit and English also. That's why I use it. Books of Shankara's commentary on the Gita. So I read some portion, not all the commentary, sometimes very detailed, 5, 6, 10 pages and one shloka. Some parts of it I read.
And one more, Swamiji, you mentioned that Ishara Sarvabhutanang Riddesha Upasthiti, that is which verse from 18th chapter?
61.
61, okay. We hear what we forget.
Yeah. Sarvabhutanam Vriddeshe, in the hearts of all the beings, Ishvara Tishtati, God is sitting there. That comes in throughout the Gita, and 13th chapter also it comes. 10th chapter also it comes.
Namaste, Swamiji.
Namaskar.
I have one question. You have mentioned how repeatedly in the Gita, Sri Krishna talks about Nidvandva. Now, in the context of our daily lives,
Yeah.
how to develop that attitude of Nidvandva? Because we do tend to react to all positive or negative stimuli around us. We somehow, sometimes we feel we can't help it. So as householders, as going through our daily responsibilities, how to develop the attitude?
Very good question. You have to react. When events happen, you cannot stop from reaction. Some reaction has to be there, but it has to be controlled and proper, not angry reaction. Supposing somebody in the workplace, family, it is, sometimes you can manage. Workplace is more difficult because we are all different people coming from different backgrounds, working together. There is more difficult. Supposing a co-worker does something that you don't like. Now, what will you do, Ulka? Supposing your co-worker does something that you don't like. You wish you had done, because how will you react? Have a live audience here.
Ask them, you'll understand why they react that way, and then you will try to understand and agree.
Communicate, negotiate. So Ulka says she's working full time, very busy job. She says when my co-worker does something that you don't like, that I should not have done or done differently, then you peacefully calmly negotiate with that person. Tell that person, this is not how it should have been done. Can you please change? That kind of negotiation, peaceful negotiation, we have to do. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it does not work. Then if you have done, if there may be other avenues for you to pursue that complaint in the official procedure, grievance procedures are there. You can follow that. If nothing works, after you have tried everything, if nothing works, what you have to do? You should say, I have done my best, and this is how I have to accept the situation. I cannot change it. It is something that I cannot change. I have to accept it. Why it happened like that? Because you were placed in that situation because of our, we can say, past karma. Who is your co-worker? What nature that person is? Co-worker or wife or husband or child who comes into your life in different capacities, what kind of nature of people are they? Depends upon a large extent on the past karma. I was born in a particular family to particular parents with my siblings. I was placed there because that was the place where I was supposed to be. That comes in the 6th chapter, where I will be born next time. Depends on my past karma. So after negotiating and trying everything possible to alleviate the situation, if nothing works, then you accept it or practice forbearance, titiksha. But all this has to be done without hatred or anger. That's difficult. You tend to become angry. If something goes wrong, we become angry. So without becoming angry or having hatred towards that person, you have to deal with this situation. And if nothing works, practice forbearance. What cannot be cured has to be endured. Same thing in regard to personal life also, health also, wife also, family relationship also, husband-wife relationship also. Things go wrong.
So what if in the process of acceptance, is it okay to maintain some distance from the individuals?
Yeah, you have to. You should not. If you can maintain distance, that is a good thing to do. You don't have to get close to people. If you don't have to, you don't have to. Stay away from wicked people. Narada Maharshi says, you have to stay away from wicked people. Dussanga sarvathaiva tyajaha. As far as possible, stay away. But if you have to interact, if it's a family member, then you cannot stay away for a long time. So then you have to accept it, because that's what life is. You earned it. Practicing acceptance. But
who is a wicked person?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, Swamiji, I have one question. we are talking in this chapter about renunciation of action versus performance as action, or sometimes knowledge versus performance of action.
Yeah.
So does it mean that renunciation of action will lead to knowledge?
Renunciation of action means nivritti marg. That means not getting involved in worldly life and
Yes.
pursuing self-knowledge exclusively in a isolated location, forest. That is nivritti marga, going away from the from life and leading a secluded life, only thinking about God and daily doing spiritual practice.
Yeah.
Full
So
time.
knowledge, how does knowledge fit in that?
Knowledge, they pursue self-knowledge. Those people, generally, they pursue Atma Jnana. They meditate on Brahman, I am Brahman. That's their preference. You can do devotion also in the forest.
So then what he is trying to tell Arjun, that knowledge versus performance of action, one and the same thing?
Lead to same goal. Methods are different. Goal is the same. Self-knowledge or devotion. Both can be achieved.
How do we achieve this divinity within? What extra we should do?
One thing is we can meditate on the presence of God within us. When you do a meditation, you visualize the presence of the Ishta Devata in your heart. He is present within you. That meditation. He is present within me, like that one. That's one way. Or by doing all actions as offering to God. I'm serving Him. I'm a servant of God. I'm a child of God. I'm a devotee of God. I'm doing everything as a servant, as offering. That attitude also can be there. Different attitudes are there. Bhavas are there. Whichever suits you, you can follow that.
Okay, thank you.
The third chapter, Sloka 30, Sri Krishna explained how a person, by doing all work as a dasa means a servant. By doing all work as a servant of God, one can purify the mind and get the same result of devotion. 330.
Thank you.
Okay.
We can do Shanti part, Swamiji.
Shanti mantra?
Yes, wrap it up.
Okay. Okay. Om sarve bhavanta sakhinah, sarve santu niramayah, sarve bhadrani pashyanto, ma kaschid dukkha bhag bhavet. Om shanti shanti shanti. Om, may all be happy. May all be free from diseases and other problems. May all understand and practice what is right and dharmic. May no one be subject to suffering or misery. Om peace. May there be peace in our hearts. Adhyatmika Shanti. May there be peace and harmony in all beings. Adi Bhautika Shanti. May there be peace in nature. Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Sarvam Shri Ramakrishna Arpanam.
Thank you, Swamiji.
Thank you all. Have a
Thank you,
Swamiji.
Ram Swamiji.
Thank you, Swamiji. Namaskaram, Swamiji.
Thank you, Swamiji.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Pranam.
Thank you, Swamiji.
Very good. Namaskar. I'm very happy to see all of you. Such a joy to see everyone.